It's time to get on board the Rhema gospel train with the hardest working gospel jock in South Texas, Elder James Lockhart. Get on board. Spreading the gospel around the world.
I have been blessed over the years to speak to many of the very best in gospel artists, national and indie artists. But it's touched my heart to be able to speak to a young lady by the name of Sharon Bennett out of San Antonio, Texas, whose father was a civil rights leader. And I'm talking about the late Reverend L.E. Bennett, who opened doors where Black men, Black women were locked out. He opened doors for opportunity for many people. Stay with me. It's coming up. Right after this will be Sharon Bennett and I.
Believe that life is unfair. You throw up your hands and say I don't care. And statistics have shown that depression is real, and no amount of money or fame is able to heal. But I am convinced of this remedy, that Jesus died on the cross to set my soul free. More to say. I've got more to say. In just 1 year, the whole world has changed. Sickness has covered the globe with death and pain. Many have lost loved ones to this disease. How much more can we take? Where is the relief? But I'm still convinced of this remedy, that Jesus died on the cross to set our souls free. World is not my home. I refuse to be comfortable. No matter what comes or goes, my God, He remains faithful. When God says in His word that He'll do exceedingly abundantly above whatever we ask or think, God is challenging us to ask big, to think big, to dream big, because no matter how big the request, God is able to do greater, exceedingly abundantly. Anything that you ask, He's got you covered. He's got you covered. Come on, sing it. He's got you covered. He's covering you. Sing it. He's got you. Yes, Lord, you do. Yes, you are covered. You're covered. He's covering struggle. He's bigger than your problem. He's seeing about your trouble. He's bigger than your circumstance. Hallelujah. He's seeing about you. He's seeing you through. He's covering you.
Welcome once again to Rhema Gospel Express. I'm your host, James Lockhart, and we're going to Atlanta, Texas. We'd just like to thank you for tuning in at this time. We're going to be talking to a young lady who is doing some amazing things. She's written a book, Jewel of the South, and she has a story to tell. Welcome with me, if you will, Sharon Bennett. Like to say thank you for coming on, Sharon.
Hey, good evening. Thank you so much for having me, Elder Lockhart. Great to be here.
Oh, yes, Sharon. It's been quite a while since we've talked. Once before, we talked on KROV-FM radio, but right now, you're on Rhema Gospel Express. Sharon,
Awesome.
let's go back into this because you have a story to tell that so many people really don't know about. Now, you're originally from San Antonio, Texas.
Correct. Mostly grown and raised in San Antonio. We did move a lot because of my father's work, but majority of the year, San Antonio, Texas, yes.
Now, and you are a preacher's kid.
I don't spread that around, but yeah. Yes, he wasn't always a preacher, though he was always in the church, raised in the church as most country folk were. And he was a Christian man and an awesome singer, but he tried to stay away from the pulpit, but God got him later. God got him. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, you know, the amazing thing about your father is that even though he tried to stay away from the pulpit, but he was very much involved with the community, not only in San Antonio, but other cities as well.
Yes. Well, he traveled quite a bit because, and I'll get into that story, but once he decided he needed to make a change with the practices in San Antonio as far as companies and corporations were concerned, union-wise, he had to travel to the different union locations. That meant Houston, Texas, El Paso, Laredo, Corpus Christi, Austin. So he would travel because we couldn't apply for jobs other than janitorial or mechanics. We had to ask permission through a letter.
Now, we're going way back to the 60s, right?
Yes.
Okay.
He started to work in 1956 with them. But
okay.
Yes.
Now, the book that you've written, share with us.
Yes. All right. It's a biography of his civil rights. So it's called Jewel of the South, and a biography of the civil rights of Reverend Dr. L.E. Bennett. So that's the title. And you can get the book anywhere that you have a connection. Amazon. Most people prefer that because they can leave a review on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, which I would love people leaving a review. But any online store, any store you walk into, you can get the book.
Okay. Now, in this book, it talks about the struggle that your father went through.
Yes. It gets into the struggle. I set it up first telling about his background, because to understand him, you have to understand the people he came from and how he was raised. So he was the 12th child. So he was the baby, and that's the nickname. They called him Baby. Even when he was walking and talking, he was still called Baby. I even saw a picture he autographed to his sister, Narcy Barnes, and it said, Baby, the baby. I'm like, you ain't no baby. But he was born in Louise, Texas, which is between Houston and San Antonio, right? We know Louise and El Campo, where my mother was from. Mm-hmm. Smart kid. Unfortunately, his 2 siblings died, because there would have been 14 of them. And his father died when he was 6 years old. And it was pretty sad. 3 of the kids found him. He was taking a path on the way to work and found leaning against a tree. But he had been complaining about his chest hurting. You know, he would work for the Roosevelt program, WPA, the Workers Administration Program, and they would cut tall trees out to the road where the trucks would pick him up. And there was a gentleman helping him, but the gentleman's legs gave way and that left the weight on my grandfather. So he did it. He carried it out, big, strong guy, but he started feeling discomfort and pain. So he complained about that. And 3 days later, yeah, he was found. So that bothered my father, but he was found to be a very smart, intelligent kid, and later discovered he had a photographic memory. Oh. No matter what he saw, heard, or read, he remembered it. So he was always an awesome student, valedictorian, magna cum laude. You know, he was always at the top, graduated St. Philip's with honors in like a year and a half. And then he went to St. Mary's University and got a PhD. So it came easy for him, I wish.
Now, I don't know how it goes, but tell us about the story about, because the Caucasian people, you know, they didn't say people of color back in those days, but share with us that Caucasian folks said that they felt very uncomfortable working around
people with melanin.
Yes. And the response came, I don't know if your father said it or not. He said, well, I don't know why y'all feel uncomfortable, but you don't feel uncomfortable when we cutting your grass.
That was bad. He saw John F. K. There's the whole story. He saw JFK in person in front of the Alamo, actually, and that's what spurred him to actually make the change, not put up with it. So he had to make that change from a position of some authority, not just as an employee. So he ran for the president of the Colored People's Union. Our unions were separated then, even though our union members still paid the same amount of dues every month as the white union members to their president, but we weren't treated the same. All right. So he became president of the Colored People Union, and then he started writing letters. I need a meeting. We need to talk about A, B, C, and D. All right. And then Dr. Bellinger, over time, because he was struggling, Dr. Bellinger got involved, Claude Black got involved, and they helped him from the outside, writing letters to management and calling, getting on their last nerve. Okay. And here's Daddy in the meeting with Mr. Lawrence Randall sometimes, and then his VP and them. And one of the gentlemen said, and I'm using that phrase lightly, gentlemen, I don't see how good white folk are supposed to be able to have in people in their homes, installing phones or anything else. And my father, you know, I failed to understand your reasoning there. It's good. White folk don't have a problem with us in your home cooking, cleaning your house, taking care of your children, or doing your garden. So why do you have a problem with the phone being installed? And so the first meeting, because of these epithets, they would say, these negative comments, he blew up. And so his sergeant of arms and VP had to take him out in the hallway. Woo, calm down, because we talked about this. We knew this was coming. It was going to be hard. He said, yeah, I thought I could handle it better, because he believed in going to every meeting dressed in his suit, even though he was a janitor and they wore their jumpers and stuff. He took a suit when he was going to have a meeting, and his board had to do the same. And they would change after work and dress in their suit and go to these meetings. One of the tactics the division heads would use is they would have iced water on the table and only enough glasses for themselves. None for the Black union members. And it would be really cold and it's condensation. They never offered them any water, that kind of thing. You know, so some things were said that really hurt my dad's feelings. And I could tell, because when I interviewed him, he would like tear up and get angry. And I talked to my mother about it, and she said, oh yeah, he would come home and say all kind of words. I said, words like what, Mom? I don't talk like that. No, I don't say words like that. Them bad words. I know, but Help me out, sis. Help me out. You know, them so and so's this and them. Oh my God, this is a struggle, right? Ooh, yeah. So I said the B word, yeah, the B-A word and the B-I word and then the G-D word. And I said, oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, we got you. Now, it seems like you remember this just like it was yesterday.
No, I know. Well, the good thing, and there's a bad side too. I did a video, not a video, sorry, cassette recording. So I interviewed my dad and his siblings. So this is how I was able to pull up his history when he was growing up, and they would say things, and they knew when he started trying to integrate and the difficulties he was going through. So all that helped me. But what it made the most impression on me was his facial expressions. You know, the tremble in his voice sometimes. I knew he was hurt deep by that. And also, so when I was trying to get it together, I was thinking of just a family history situation. So I would tell about him, but it really wasn't his full story because he kind of didn't want me to tell the full story of what he's like, well, I don't want people to know I was talked to like that. Or I was done. I'm like, they need to know. And with this second civil rights movement, it's really important and imperative. People can learn from the first one, the things that were done. And so I would go back and forth with him and he would type emails. So I still have those emails at least, but that cassette recording is like, I didn't think about it. You know, heat changes because I moved with a divorce and it was in storage. So I sent it to a repair service and they sent it back. This is what we got. Really? I had better than that, but I paid them anyway, you know, whatever. So with the emails from him, the notes, and the previous family book about extensive family history, that's how I was able to do it. And then I was able to find a couple of people, union members that were still living, interview them, and other people that knew him and get it that way. So, yeah.
So, and in his own way, in his own rights, he was a civil rights leader.
He was. His first attempt at social justice was when he was 15. He went to Houston to stay with his brother Mac, and he got a job as a busboy. And it said tips. So the busboys were getting tips. And then the waitresses complained. And he was like, no, that's not fair. The ad said we work for tips. How are we going to know if they're sharing fair if we only get what they give us? And so he organized and got them to start picketing against the management. Management agreed to have a meeting with him. And so he ended up quitting and asked people to go walk out with him, and 2 others did, but you know, it was a failed attempt, but that was his first one. That's when he joined the NAACP.
Okay.
He was 15. Okay, so he ended up getting, going forward, an award from the NAACP, former president Roy Wilkins, Reverend C.D. Owens, and Patton. They signed the award for his voter registration. He was helping people in San Antonio register to vote. And people don't know this. They didn't just let us walk in, not most of us, and apply to register to vote. They pulled that little test out sometime, depending on who was there and how you looked. He had his card. He voted. People couldn't remember or didn't know. Some were illiterate, didn't know the answers to a lot of those questions. My dad did. He would coach them. And sometimes if they were to the point they couldn't remember that kind of thing, he'd go in with them like he needed to register, get his form. They'd have theirs and they'd sit there. And as soon as that moderator left, he'd give them his paper. He's already filled it out. And he'd take theirs, tear it up and say, I changed my mind. And they would just write their name on the one he filled out.
That was good. That was good.
You know, people like, yeah, that's cheating. That's not fair. it wasn't fair for what they were doing because that wasn't the law. But he did get called out on one. He realized he had to change his look and how he dressed because he was an immaculate dresser. The people started recognizing him. And so he was told by another middle-aged woman that came out, I know you, you've been here before. Oh, you better get the heck out of here, N-word, or we're gonna call the police. That was a problem I had with the publishers. They didn't want me saying those words that were said to him. It was too harsh. I said, well, imagine how he felt when it was said to him. It's reality. That's the way it was. So I stepped back and I said N-word, and I still said Negro in some areas and colored person, but I decided, if this book is gonna totally change if I continue going this route. I'm gonna have to publish it myself if I want to tell this story. And that's what I decided to do. I still said N-word because I still wanted to be able to go into high schools, with the younger people, they'd be all right. They'd be all right. And yes, that was the situation with that.
Yeah. Now, growing up, this has affected you to be a stronger person to be able to speak out.
Yeah, definitely my father's child. It was tough. Because whatever affected them affected the family. And if they're stressed, that stress comes home. And I was angry a lot of times because sometimes the discipline was harsh, mostly toward my brothers. And I tell of a story in there that's kind of heart-wrenching, but it happened. He was not a perfect man. He was raised harshly because his dad died, and here his mom was left with 6 boys, teens in the house. He was the baby, 16. What the heck? She had to be decisive, quick, and harsh. And that's where he learned his childbearing from. So yeah, that wasn't good. And we had to dress a certain way. We had to be neat and clean. He was always concerned about how the public saw us. And sometimes he would be in a mood like just not talkative, which wasn't as often because he usually got his release too from being with us when he was home on the weekend. So, but he was gone a lot. He was gone a lot.
Okay. Now we have a few more minutes, but the route that you have taken, you're speaking to women.
Well, that was the shoe fetish movement before COVID. And that kind of died out during COVID. And I was able to finish my father's book. So now I'm preparing to do book signing events and combine speaking about my father with that. So that's what I do. Though I do still protest, like I protested during the George Floyd protests. We had the new Black Panther Party here, and I couldn't keep up in the walking to the Capitol. I was like, "Ooh, I gotta take a break." My granddaughter was with me. I was like, "Ooh, they're going too fast for me." I thought I could walk. But, I have my signs. I was on the corner. I was there like I said I would be. I had joined the NAACP some years ago, and then I did the protests for abortion rights, women's abortion rights. So, yeah, I do that. I do student mentoring. So I believe in trying to give back to the community as much as possible.
Well, when are you coming back to San Antonio?
Oh, I was just there in July. But I'm trying to get back because Mother's there, but there's so much going on dealing with this, setting everything up for marketing. And now the holidays, I'm ready to come now, but they like to charge money during holiday months. I don't like paying it. Doesn't matter that I can. I don't like to, but I'll be back soon. All
right. Now, if you will, tell us again your father's full name.
Okay. My father only had initials for his name. Okay. So it's Reverend Dr. L.E. Bennett.
And when he was in San Antonio, he pastored a church.
He did. He did. That was from the middle to the end of his life. He was a pastor of Galilee Missionary Baptist Church on the Northwest side. He also raised money to rehab homes over there to redo the plumbing, the Mickle-John Project. He was part of ROB, part of Ministers Alliance, part of Guadalupe District. He was.
Now, I don't want to get it mixed up. Galilee Missionary Baptist Church. That's not where Reverend Forte is pastoring. Was pastoring it.
I believe it.
Off of Canton Street.
No, Northwest 19th Street and Calabria.
Oh, okay, that's on the northwest side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever thought about pastoring? Okay.
Nope. Oh, let me say too, we were raised at Mount Calvary Baptist Church, and he did start his ministry there as an associate minister. He was also their treasurer. So yeah.
Okay. Now, stepping out of 2022, going into 2023, what steps will you be taking?
I will continue mentoring young ladies at school. I will continue traveling and speaking about my dad's civil rights. I will be going to the Bullock Museum of Austin, Texas, where they're opening an exhibit in his honor, spring of 2023. Yeah, that's excited. So, and hopefully I'll be coming to the San Antonio African American Museum down there.
And so you're going to be setting up a meeting to be able to talk to people and share.
Right. We've been doing emails back and forth, so we'll see how it goes. I like to coordinate so when I'm there, I can make a few stops versus go home, come back, go home. That kind of thing. So it's a lot of coordination going on, but that's the plans for 23. Busy, very busy.
San Antonio, yes, she is one of our own. She may stay in Atlanta, but she's still a San Antonian. And there's a book, Jewel of the South. And tell us how we can pick that book up.
You can get it anywhere online, but mostly Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And if you would, please leave me a review on the book, how you felt how it impacted you and about my father's life. I would appreciate it. Love to read and hear about it.
Tell us your email.
Oh, let me give you my website is Sharon, the letter K, Bennett. That's B as in baby, ENNETT. Some people do 1T.com. And there's a link on there for my email address and the work phone number. So you don't have to remember all that. So SharonKBennett.com. And there's a link for the book as well as my email address and phone number.
The daughter of a civil rights leader. Yes. Out of San Antonio, Texas. We're talking about the daughter. Yes. It's Sharon Bennett. Sharon, we'd like to thank you so much for spending this time with us. We'll be having you back real soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
And again, you're the one. You're the queen. You are on top of the world.
Yes, amen. God's grace.
Coming up, right here on Rhema Gospel Express. More music. And again, we thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Elder Lockhart.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Nakia Marie, and you are listening to the Rhema Gospel Express with my guy, Elder James Lockhart.